Section 9.3, two dependent sample or match pairs. Here I have a page that explains the difference between dependent and independent samples. So you could go over this page and understand the difference of these two. So for Section 9.2 and 9.3 each discuss whether it's dependent or independent. For two dependent samples, we are using this formula. We are using the T. These are T of a statistic. And D bar is the mean of the difference. And also this is a formula for mean of the difference. Objective is to use the difference for two dependent sample, or they call it match pairs, to test a claim about the mean of populations. Again, the requirement is the sample are dependent or match pairs, and also the value of n has to be greater than 30, has to be large enough to do the calculations. Here is an example of actor and actress. We record their age. They both have the same numbers. So what we do here is when you have L1 and L2, if I input all these numbers for the actress in L1 and actor in L2, we are talking about the difference, the D. So D, if I use my calculator, D would be L1 minus L2. I want to show you how to do this one. So if I go to SWAT and edit, what you need to do is in L1, you could just go ahead and put the numbers 28, 28, 31, 29, 35, and then on L2, I put 62, 37, 36, 38, and 29. So these are L1 and L2. Again, D is the difference. So I have to create, you go all the way up to L3. L3 is L1 minus L2. When you do L1 minus L2, then you have all these values on L3. Now, for these numbers, which is D, I need to calculate the mean and standard deviations. So you go to Stat, Calculations, and you put L3. And that gives you mean, which is here is mean is minus 10.2, which is here D bar, and the standard deviation is 14.65. That's how you calculate these two numbers here. Now, I need to find T of a statistic. I already have mean and standard deviation. I have the N. There are 5 numbers. That gives me T of a statistic. So remember, L3 is L1 minus L2. Now, the claim is that the mean of difference is less than 0. Opposite of that is equal to 0. So now I need to find the value of the t, again, for one tail, if you want to use your calculator to find the t value, alpha is given in the problem is 0.05. df is n minus 1. There are 5 numbers, so df is 4. Based on inverse t 0.05 and 4, you could find this value. Now, minus 1.55 fall into a good area. It doesn't fall into the critical area. Therefore, we accept HO and we reject the claim. Now, if you want to find the confidence interval for these problems, you need to have the margin of error. Again, the margin of error is T ST over N. T of alpha have you already calculate that? You have ST, we have N. That give you the margin of error. You take these numbers and you substitute that, and that would give you the interval. What you could do, you could also use if you want to find the t and p value, you could also use the calculator. And that's the information how to use the calculator. Go to Start, Test, T-test. You put that, when you put the data, it means calculator already input some information, you put it for you. I just need to change list in L3 because L3 is where D is. And the symbol is less because the original claim was less. See? H1 determine left tails, and so you put left tails. So T value and the P value. Okay, and then in that case, if the P value is greater than alpha, which is 0.05, means we accept HO. So through the comparison of T and also P value, these two should always match. And that's how to go ahead and find the interval for it. So for this part, you go all the way to test. Go to number 8. T interval. Make sure the confidence level is 90%. And that gives you these two values. These are the same examples. They have it in the book. It has a better picture of the alpha here. And that's how to use star disk or Minitab for these functions. And this is how to use the confidence testing. So these problems, again, you have L1 and L2, you do the same thing. See, L3 is L1 minus L2, then you just follow the calculator calculations. Again, for all these problems, you need to find D, which is L3. So all the problems are the same, and the last page is just a multiple choice, which we place the answers for you.